I'm putting on my top hat, tying up my white tie, brushing up my tail. Oh,
Welcome to Hatcast,
the podcast about hats.
I'm Charles Berman.
And I'm Carl Bernhardson.
And we're here to talk about hats.
Yes, about hats. Also about a review about a podcast about hats by a program that reviews podcasts.
Yes, on Twitch, which is not just a symptom of nervous system disorders, but is also a website.
It is. It's a streaming website. And
what they do, I believe, is it's called Experience This. We mentioned it last time. They usually review people with streams on Twitch. And a stream is not just a forceful confluence of waters branching off from a river. No, it's also website content of a programmatic nature that comes through maybe YouTube or Twitch itself and is broadcast live.
Typically live,
internet.
right?
Yes.
As opposed to our program, which is broadcast
dead.
Dead, yes. A week after we have sat about talking.
That's why if you write to us, which some of you have, if you write to us, we don't answer you until a little bit of time has passed because we're not responding in real time to you.
Now that we've done a good job of explaining the concept live, we can get into the review.
So these people, they play video games and talk about the video games as they play them. Just the way we sometimes wear hats and talk about the hats as we wear them.
Yeah.
And these people review the people who talk about the video games as they play them, but also sometimes review podcasts, and they reviewed us. And we're very thankful for that. They
very
gave
thankful.
A good review.
It was a very positive review. It certainly made me feel good about Hatcast, and if I wasn't one of the people who made it, I would have gone and listened to it.
Yeah, and there, of course, me too. And I do listen to it every week. I have to as we're doing it, otherwise I couldn't hear what you were saying if I were deaf.
Right, Charles does the editing. I've never gone back and listened to anything we've ever done.
But you listen as we say it.
As we say it.
Yeah. And if this were a podcast that reviewed reviewers of Twitch streams, we would dedicate the whole program to them because Experience This, I thought they did a very good job.
They did a great job,
actually. They were very fun to listen to.
They were thorough, and they had good points. They had a couple of notes for us.
They did. They had a couple of questions for us.
Right.
So first of all, are we from New York or Canada?
We are from New York, which is, you are correct, just south of Canada.
Yes. Not south of all of Canada. There
No.
are parts of Canada where if you go south, you're in Washington State.
Right.
And if you're looking for us by this method, you will fail utterly unless we've both happened to be in Washington State for some reason. But that hasn't happened yet for me ever.
Yeah, but we are in what is known as upstate New York.
Right.
So.
Which is close to Canada. So your accent tracing skills are not too bad. And also, I'll say, they say that it takes, I've heard, for instance, that it takes an Australian, or these people are Australian that were watching us.
Right.
They say it takes an Australian or a New Zealander to tell the difference between an Australian and a New Zealand accent.
I've heard that, yeah.
And
I would say that I wouldn't be great at finding the difference.
Yeah, I could say, I've listened to the two at various times, and I've heard things that made me say, this is more of an Australian or a New Zealand accent. But if I just met someone, I wouldn't be so bold as to say, you're not from Australia, you're from New Zealand, or the other way.
Right. No, and I imagine that upstate New York and southern eastern Canada are pretty similar.
Right, so I wouldn't expect Australians to be able to hear that accent difference, you know?
Right.
One thing about the New Zealand accent, they say things like fush instead of fish.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one question done.
The other one was a more hat-related question.
Right. Was it okay to wear a baseball cap with a suit jacket? And
yeah.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
It looks good. We saw you. That's the other thing. There's a visual component to their program.
Yeah, you can see them.
Right. You have to imagine us.
Yeah, I think we took a picture. Maybe we'll put the picture up on our
we didn't put that
website
up?
or
Yeah.
something. But I think we will. It's just sometimes we're afflicted by a lack of timeliness in putting up pictures of ourselves.
Right.
In the one attempt that we've made at doing that. But they're wearing suit jackets and baseball caps.
Yeah, it looks good. It
does look good.
Yeah.
One of them has a Hawaiian shirt.
Yes.
Which Now, I tend to wear these myself.
You do.
So I'm a little bit biased, but I think that works better with a baseball cap than... Now, the other guy was wearing a bow tie and a white shirt and a baseball cap and a suit jacket. So almost a full tuxedo get up with a baseball cap. And that looks a little almost deliberately incongruous.
Right, which is a look, right? You can do that. Nothing wrong with it.
And it definitely works for this where they're clearly doing a show.
Right.
And as he said, I don't know if he goes and does his shopping dressed like that. Maybe.
No, but for having an image that people can remember on your program, it certainly worked. I can tell the difference between the two hosts based on the clothing that they were wearing.
Yeah, and as you... Yes, even if their faces were blocked out for some reason during the episode, and they were constantly switching which chair they were sitting in to confuse us, I would be able to tell because they were wearing different clothing.
And that's another useful thing about hats, right?
Yes.
You can use them to differentiate people from one another.
Right, yes. I mean, I'm sure we've all been in bad plays or something where one actor plays more than one part and is distinguished by changing hats.
Well, and it's even a common phrase to say, I wear many hats.
Yes.
Right? To say you have multiple jobs or functions in an organization.
Yes, or if you're trying to get your friend to give you extra benefits from their company or something, and they have to say, I'm wearing my executive hat, not my friend hat. Yeah. Now, the friend hat is not a real kind of hat. It's just...
Although, the hat we're going to talk about today...
is one worn with
You would
friends.
typically wear it with friends.
I
wouldn't wear it with people I don't know or my enemies.
Yes. Unless you're infiltrating their birthday party.
Right.
But to answer that, and I think... In general, it's not a formal look with a baseball cap, ever. But someone if you're wearing a casual short sports shirt, maybe jeans, and a casual jacket, maybe a corduroy jacket over it, and a baseball cap, it's a good casual but not sloppy look, right?
Hatcast approved. And the baseball cap is so ubiquitous that even if you saw... I was in New York City yesterday, and I saw plenty of business executives wearing what looked to be very expensive suits and then a baseball cap because they were outside and it was a little bit drizzly.
And that's an interesting choice. That almost seems to me because maybe they have bought an expensive suit and they don't own a nice hat?
That may be the case.
Yeah.
They don't have a hat to go with it. There certainly aren't a lot of people walking around in business suits and what looked to be expensive hats. And that was... interesting. It's been a while since I've been in a major metropolitan area, so it was fun walking around seeing people's hats.
You do see some nice hats come by.
You do, but I saw a much larger proportion of well-dressed people in baseball caps. So it is socially acceptable.
Oh yeah,
and socially acceptable among.
I think as long as you're
high-ranking
you're not
people.
Totally incongruous with everything, it's a look that makes sense.
Yeah, and they had one other note, which was that we should consider branching out into other things. They mentioned coats and things like that.
Right, they were talking about Beardcast.
Yes, which that exists. There's a lot. That's a pretty saturated.
Exists already, does it?
There are a lot of programs about beards and things.
I thought that the hat is a much more fertile ground. If we were going to do Beardcast, how many varieties of beard are there? There's a goatee, mustache.
Right. Well, then people talk about how
full beard.
Tips for trimming one's beard.
Oh, I see.
And keeping it
Use
from
sharp object, maybe.
Well, that you can get. Well, and a lot of these are tied into people who sell grooming products.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas we do not sell hats and have not yet thought of any way to monetize this program. But yeah, so that exists. We've talked about. We both like ties. We both have pretty substantial tie collections.
That's true.
You're wearing a
I'm
wonderful
wearing a
tie today.
Yeah.
I think that's something we could talk about. They mentioned coats. I think there's a ton of coats, right? If we wanted to branch out, we could branch out. And they did notice that we have tried talking about other things like books that talk about hats. As they relate to hats. Yeah. So I think for now we're going to stick to hats and things that are at least hat adjacent.
Right. I don't think we need to do Beardcast.
Beard hat.
Unless we want to do an episode about people wearing false beards upside down as hats.
Well, there are hats that incorporate false beards. That people who are impersonating Saint Nicholas.
That's true, and they're of a piece. Yeah.
Yes, one piece.
And we did mention that the Ushanka sometimes looks hair-like, as it is a fur hat.
Yes.
But I guess that is ground that's covered.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, what would we consider those fake beards that Egyptian pharaohs used to wear?
I would call those fake beards.
Right, that's true. You don't wear a hat on your chin. Some hats cover the chin, but they are not. We
could do an episode about the crown of the upper and lower kingdoms.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, because that did incorporate a fake beard.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
We're not going to run out. That's the thing. We realized this when we first started. I was like, well, will this concept get old? I don't think it has.
No, I think the concept of hats is evergreen and eternal.
Yeah. So yeah, in this episode, we've done a lot of talking about Hatcast and people who've talked about Hatcast. So see, even that we can just keep rolling along.
And speaking of that, this is not really correspondence, but I thought we might bring it up. One of our friends posted about Hatcast on the website Reddit.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Did we receive any notice?
Well, somebody responded to he wrote, Hatcast, a podcast about hats. As far as I know, the only podcast to delve into hats. We don't actually jump into hats during the program.
We delve into the topic.
And hat-related topics. On Reddit, on the subreddit called Hats. And somebody responded, "Aw, sweet. We'll need to check this out. Maybe we can find a way to collab. I do World Hatstery 101 on YouTube. Can't wait to check this out."
Oh, we have to find it.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll look for World Hatstery 101. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just really finding out about this now. But if you love hats, there is more hat content out there. And I would love to collaborate with World Hatstery.
Oh, yeah. I'll collaborate with anyone. This would be great. Yeah. Any other correspondence?
Yes, actually. We got a letter, and the title of this filled me with hope because the email was called Love the Podcast.
Oh, good.
Hey, guys. I really like the show. I have listened to all your shows up to this point. You haven't listened to this one yet. We haven't released it yet. As an active enthusiast, I found your podcast completely by chance, just by typing hats in Stitcher's search box.
Huh.
That's a good way to do it. Here is a picture of me in one of my flat caps. It's a Kangol 504 Ventair. Let's open the picture. And here is our correspondent very, very stylishly wearing this Kangol 504 Ventair.
It is very nice.
Tan-colored hat. Oh, and it looks like...
It's made of a material.
Yes,
hence the name Ventair. It's a mesh-like material.
But with a very good shape.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a Kangol. This was the gift that I was given. It was a Kangol bucket hat. And it was not as great a shape. But I like this one. That is very nice.
It looks like it's available in many different colors as well.
And I would consider getting this one.
It's affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't get into price specifically, but no, I like this a lot.
I had a Kangol style, or I mean a Ventair stylish kind of hat that it just was not as nice as this one, but I think it was meant to be the same kind of thing.
Right.
But looking at this picture, I would wear that hat any day.
I
wouldn't take it from him because it's his, but I would certainly be enthusiastic about that hat.
Yeah, it's nice because a lot of flat caps are made out of wool, and that's tricky to wear in the summer. So
yeah, I think this would be a perfect summer cap because if you it looks like it would be very cool. Yeah, it's this polyester blend, but the idea is it's loosely knitted so that it lets the air in to your head.
Right.
Yeah. I'm up to 50 hats. 29 of them are for spring or summer, and 21 are for fall or winter. That's a pretty good balance. They're mostly flat caps, though my most recent purchases have included trilbies and fedoras.
We haven't done either of those yet.
No, we haven't. How many hats is too many? How many do each of you have? It's always interesting to hear what hats you two are wearing on the days you're recording. I may have missed it somewhere along the way, but how did you two meet and decide to start the podcast? One suggestion. When you guys edit the show and have to bleep out somebody's name or contact information, could you do it at a lower volume? It can really jar the listener.
We can certainly do that.
Yes. That's not a problem.
And actually, that did remind me. Someone in person had mentioned that to me. So we will do that.
Yes, I apologize for that.
Oh, that's all right.
I will. That's my fault because I handle the bleeping.
This is true. I have once I'm done speaking into the microphone. That's sort of the end of my involvement in Hatcast.
Not the end of your involvement. I'll say right now, we are going to solve this problem.
Yes, we are.
See, that'll
be bleeped, right? Yep.
All right. Now, I'm looking forward to when you guys finally cover the fedora, trilby, and straw hats. Keep up the good work, Mark Konczynski. Oh, very good. Well, thank you so much for that letter, Mark. That's
yes, we appreciate it.
Kind.
I guess we should get to your questions, right?
Yes. So the straw hat, we have done the boater, which is a straw hat, but we should do one about the straw hat as a more general area. And we certainly are planning to talk about the fedora and the trilby. They're such famous hats.
Maybe for one of the numerically significant episodes, 30 or something like that, which we're rapidly approaching.
We're climbing towards, yeah. So let's get through to he had a list of questions here. Number one, how many hats is too many? The only limit on this, I think, is if you're starting to spend so much money on hats that you are running out of money for things like food and shelter.
Right. If you have an income that can support your hat habit, by all means, do it. Right.
Right. So, but don't take the food out of your family's mouth.
Right.
For hats.
And space becomes an issue, but there are a lot of hats are something that are pretty efficient to store.
Because they can, unless it's one that's going to be damaged by this process, and take a look at it. Hat boxes are stackable if you keep them in hat boxes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes hats can even nest on top of one another.
Yes. And you can hang them on the wall as well.
Yeah.
Like my boater from 1903. I typically have that hanging on the wall. It isn't right now because I've just moved some things around. But I display that for people to look at, and I dust it and keep it looking nice. So yeah, I think the only limit is money and potentially space. There otherwise is not too many
exactly
hats.
what I was going to say.
Because there are so many hats that you can acquire for the joy of owning that you may not have occasion to wear, but
and then
you're a collector.
Might have to say, that hat isn't necessarily doing you harm, but if you have limited living space, let's say that your closet is so full of hats, you now know where to put your shirts, and you're starting to not have enough shirts. Mm-hmm. And you live in a studio apartment.
Right.
Maybe either A, you might have to think about disposing of some of your other possessions, and that could include hats, or find alternate storage space.
Right.
Like a storage locker.
Yes.
And then someone on Storage Wars, the television show, could open it up after bidding highly for it and find it full of wonderful hats.
Right.
But...
Always an option.
Yes,
but they're not like coins, which you can fit into a binder. You can have a lot of coins in a small space.
So I don't think there's any hard limit on how many hats is too many, unless you're really so gluttonous with hats that you've bought out the entire hat supply of a country or city, and then no one else can have them.
Well, that's very unlikely.
Yeah,
but.
And at a certain point, now remember, there are 365 days in a year. You might want to think, well, how many hats can you wear?
Well, there are 365 days in a year, but how many days in a human life? That's
more
very
than
much
a year worth. But,
we hope.
But I won't put an upper limit on it. I don't think you're getting to be too many. No,
I would have to run upstairs and count.
I would have to count mine too. I haven't counted.
I would guess I have somewhere around 30 hats.
I don't know how many. I have a very bad numerical sense. So I might have more. I might have some baseball caps in there that inflate the count that I don't even wear very much.
That's right. There are a lot of sort of duplicative hats that have,
so I probably have a lot of hats.
Yeah. We should break it down. Let's for next week. Let's look into
try and do a count.
And then probably break it down by type as well, because I have multiple baseball caps and multiple flat caps. So, I could say I have X number of types of hats.
And what he did, for how many for winter, how many for summer, and things like that. It's always interesting to hear what hats you two are wearing on the days you're recording. Well, we should mention...
Oh, yeah, we didn't...
Carl, you have not left your house today.
I have not left my house yet today, but I can talk about what hat I wore yesterday.
Oh, what was that?
It was my travel baseball cap that I had received for my birthday.
Yes,
that's gotten a lot of use this summer. It's very lightweight.
I have been with you when you've received compliments.
Yes,
on that.
I like that one. It was very handy. I was traveling. I went down to Philadelphia and then to New York City.
That's very useful for traveling.
So I could fold it up and put it in my pocket.
My hat today was, I'm actually not sure where I put it down when I came in to your house, but it's my corduroy 8-panel button flat cap.
Yes.
Which I've had for quite some time. I think I've worn that on the show before, right?
Yes, I think so. Now that we're rounding back into cooler weather, I think it'll get more use again,
I haven't worn it for a while, but today is a little bit cooler, and that's a good mid-weather hat.
It is.
Because it's corduroy, but it's not heavy like a wool flat cap.
Right.
And he said, I may have missed it along the way, but how did we meet and decide to start the podcast? Well, we met a long time before we decided to start the podcast.
Yes, we met in college. Yeah.
Yes, at the college podcast station.
No, at the college radio station that we were both a member of.
Yes. And did radio shows there.
We did. We did a number of radio shows together. We've done some radio theater together.
Yes.
That was always fun. There are some projects that we should pick up and could actually make into podcasts from our radio theater days.
Yeah, that's true.
Andre and Sherlock Holmes comes to mind.
That's right, yes.
That would make a nice serial podcast.
Speaking of
if we wanted to do something
we've done recently, it
If
would,
we wanted to do something dramatic. But yeah, so we met through college radio, essentially. And we ended up, I think we talked about this at some point, but there's a lot of, we've been doing this for a while now, so I can see how it could be lost. We decided to do this because we were sitting around my apartment at the time and thinking, wouldn't it be fun to do a podcast? And we were trying to come up with a topic, and you looked around and saw the large number of hats in my living room, and you said, what about hats? And I said, why not? And so was born Hatcast.
Yes, the podcast about hats.
Yep.
Now, on to the hat of the week, which is, this is one you might have worn, but it might have been a while.
Yeah, and this is actually going to be one of the shorter hat of the week segments, as we've been going on for a while with some house cleaning.
We have even more than the Sherlock Holmes hat, I think, a hat of mystery.
Yes, we don't really know the origin of it. We just know that people wear it.
Yes.
And it is the
cardboard conical birthday hat.
Yes. Kind of like a smaller version of the dunce cap.
Right.
Usually in bright colors. It is made of cardboard, typically, or some sort of stiff paper.
Right.
Sometimes you make your own out of whatever paper you have available to you. Construction paper, oftentimes decorated with things glued to it, or some kind of tassel or sparkles. Sometimes it's made with a sort of shiny metallic cardboard.
You sometimes say with sprinkles or sparkles, I guess you call it. Yes. Glitter. Glitter is the
that's
word. Yes.
Glad we figured that one out.
Yeah. Now, sometimes it has a little ball at the top.
Yes, like a little fuzzy
Sometimes
thing.
It has a fringe at the bottom.
Right.
Usually it is not meant actually to fit.
No, part of the appeal is that it doesn't fit. Right, and it looks silly. I think it probably has a relation to hats that clowns have worn.
Yes, certainly might.
But
part of the idea is that it's very cheap.
Yes, and easy to make even if you couldn't afford one, right?
Right. So, I mean, for example, if someone were to say, how many hats did you own? And you answered, I own 400 because I've just spent $5 on 400 conical birthday hats.
That is something that
you
could do.
Answer that way, but I would feel it's a little disingenuous even. Part of it's meant to look a little bit funny because it's too small for most people's heads. And the one that I remember usually had a piece of elastic.
Yes, that went around your chin because it doesn't fit, so it has to be held to the top of your head with a piece of elastic. I suppose you could clip it on as well with like a hairpin, but that seems like more effort than most people are willing to put into donning their party hat.
Right. So, what is the origin of the party hat? That's an interesting question. We've looked at some sources to try to find it out. And, for instance, this site here is called Blue Mountain, was telling us, though there is no one origin of the pointed party hat, this distinctive headgear has been around at the very least, since 2800 BC, and was recognized as a symbol of power or status. Now, wait a minute. I don't think this was the same hat. First of all, I don't think they had cardboard in 2800 BC. Maybe it was a papyrus party hat. But even still, if it's recognized as a symbol of power and status, it's not being worn as a party hat.
We're talking about a different kind of hat. Yes. This is bad information.
It might have also been conical, and it looks like it vaguely was conical or thistle-shaped.
Right.
But if you're going to a birthday party, especially a child's birthday party, and you put on the cardboard party hat,
you're not trying to evoke.
This has given me power and status. You are deceived.
No, and in fact, the party hat is meant specifically to be a leveler of all the people at the party and saying we're all equally silly and we're all equally wearing a party hat.
Right. So a lot of sources that purport to give the origin of the party hat give a sort of general overview of various conical hats through history.
Right.
Ancient Egypt, medieval Jewish tradition, the wizard's hat, which is based on a real hat that was more popular in the Middle Ages.
We will have to talk about that one. I think that'd be a good
hat.
That'd be a good Halloween episode.
Oh yeah, maybe at Halloween we'll do that. And the sorting hat.
Right, from the popular
Potter,
children's novel series.
There's the Wicked Witch wearing a pointed hat, which yet is not a party hat. I don't think she's about to have birthday cake in that hat.
No.
The sort of cone-shaped hat that goes with a wimple. No. And of course the dunce cap, which we've already discussed, and that comes closest. And it might have evolved from that.
It could be. I think, well, they evolved from, I think, the same process, that they're easy to manufacture at your home or in a classroom.
Yes,
right?
It's just a rolled piece of paper.
And they look silly.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's the whole mystery right there, Charles. I don't think it's that big. When is that? We do tend to like to find this. When is the first appearance of the cylindrical party hat in print?
Well, that's an interesting question, because it's always a question of what they would call it, right?
That's true.
Because...
Or conical, not cylindrical.
Yeah, they might have called it... A party hat can refer to several things, and it is mentioned that in England, the party hat tends to be the sort of very thin paper crown that you get inside of a Christmas cracker.
Right.
And those are worn in all sorts of parties. Although there was another page where someone from England recollected the conical birthday hats being worn in the 50s and 60s in England, and that now they've been superseded by the...
Paper crowns?
Yes.
Interesting. Maybe because the paper crowns come ready-made inside something that you're already using for celebration?
Right.
Right.
There don't even seem to be any 19th century citations really for a party hat or a birthday hat.
Right.
And it's not the sort of thing that you would really have much of a name for, I don't suppose.
Right, yeah, I guess it's just something silly that you put on your head, right?
Yeah.
To have a silly celebration.
Wikipedia says that the party hat has its origins in the dunce cap, but then it says citation needed.
Yes, I doubt that.
Now, speaking of Reddit, someone asked on Ask Historians, which is a part of Reddit where only actual historians are permitted to answer.
Really?
Yes. So there was a later answer which is deleted because it was not come from a real source or an actual historian. And this one sources USA Today magazine from 2014. The tradition may stem from multiple sources as the conical hat shows up many times throughout fashion history.
See, once again, they're just talking about cone hats.
Yes.
See, this doesn't... And it could be that you're copying some other type of cone hat.
Right.
Or, my theory, which I stand by, is that it's very easy to make with no skill out of paper at home. And it's also very cheap to manufacture and sell in bulk for practically nothing. And it can be funny colors and have funny things attached to it. And it's something that you would put on your head as a child or as an adult who is aiming to be childlike in having fun.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to say that there isn't a ton of mystery to it. It'd be nice to have a good idea of when it started to be popular. My guess is the 1940s or 50s. That's what...
I feel like I've seen images from then.
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen a lot of photographs of children's birthday parties from before then. So that may be it.
Yeah. The birthday party book from 1979 refers to writing a child's name on the birthday hat with a felt tip marking pen.
It's always nice to wear a hat with your name on it.
I don't know if I've ever done that.
I've definitely written my name on pieces of paper and then attached those pieces of paper to my head, which is, I guess, close enough.
Yeah.
I am now thinking it would be fun to get a baseball cap embroidered with my name on it.
Oh, well, I have seen people doing that.
Or we could make some Hatcast hats that we could wear.
Yes.
I'm surprised that it took us until, I don't know, 7 months into this endeavor to think of that? Well, what if we made a hat?
Yes, maybe we should make Hatcast hats.
Yeah, Hatcast the hat about hats.
A hat with a hat on it. Yeah. We should do that. So the origin of the birthday hat is a complete mystery. I think if we saw someone walking down the street wearing one, we would think that person has gone to a birthday party and forgot to take it off. And again, this is probably a child's birthday party. I don't think maybe a college frat party makes these de rigueur.
But they might. I don't know what what they're up to these days. But tongue in cheek, right?
Sense, yeah.
I could see a group of sort of older people wearing party hats just to heighten the sense of fun.
I could imagine almost anything, but yeah, if someone was walking down the street, that is what I would think. It's practicality value. I'm going to have to give it a low grade.
Oh, right. For practicality and style, if we're going to rate this thing, I would give it probably a 3 on both. Because it's meant to look silly. It's not meant to be stylish. Yeah. It serves its purpose, but it has one purpose, and that is to be on your head at a party.
It's sort of, the desire is not stylish.
It will melt in the rain.
I think I'll just agree with you, so it gets a 3.
Okay.
That doesn't even require
3's across the board. Yeah.
So, so this has been Hatcast. If you want to join the ranks of people who have communicated with us through email, the way to do it is to send an email to hatcast@yandex.com. That's HATCAST @YANDEX.com.
It's been great hearing from people. This was kind of a house cleaning episode here where we dealt with some correspondence.
We decided actually to clean our houses so that we can count our hats.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I think this was fun. And we learned that we don't know a whole lot about the party hat.
That's right.
But it's also fun, just like this podcast.
Indeed.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll wear a birthday hat, mother. Yeah, that's right. Here we go. That's right, a birthday hat, brother. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I go through the door when I know what you think. Who's the big nose with the comb?